we get our candidates on a phone block. They're making prospecting calls in our job shadow. That gets them in the seat knowing, hey, we make outbound prospecting calls every single day and it's not going away. I'm very big on you got to be in the trenches with your team. Your team has to have confidence in you. It's hard to lead a team. I want the team to know that I'm not going to ask them to do something that I wouldn't do myself.
You're listening to the Revenue Vault, where relentless sales leaders build unstoppable revenue engines. Hey, I'm Mark, and CEO of Venly Consulting. We're here to skip the theory and deliver real systems that separate growth machines from the rest. This show aims to help CROs, VPs, and GTM professionals who exceed quotas in engineering performance at scale. We ditch the platitudes for pipeline velocity and results-driven strategies. Join me today is Brandon Jones, VP of Sales at PEC Northwest, who scales 40% sales org while maintaining a high-performance culture. Brandon built a two-manager structure for new hires and recently implemented specialized enablers to compress ramp time. Today, we also dissect Brandon's controversial hire slow approach that puts candidates on live prospecting calls during job shadows, his diagnostic framework for identifying person versus process versus structure issues, and his strategy for doubling revenue without adding headcount by improving conversion rates. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So, Brandon, what's something your peers often underestimate about us building a scalable sales org?
That's a great question. And I would say that building a scalable sales org is actually what we're most challenged with today. And I think, and I would say that the main reason is we've got what we consider a high performance sales team, but we've also got what we consider a high performance culture. And I think for us, trying to scale those two things at the same time has been really tough. You know, we want to take exactly what we have today and we want to magnify it. And we talk about this a lot, where when our business was 10, 15 people, it was an amazing place to work. We were all synced up. We didn't have to have meetings. We could tap each other on the shoulder. Our performance was high. Our culture was high. As we've grown that substantially over the last 10, 12 years, at least while I've been here, it's gotten better, right? It's magnified. And that creates a pretty unique challenge to try and magnify the amazing things that we have today while growing our team to reach these goals. This has been tough. And so for us, it comes down to hire slow and really do our diligence throughout the hiring process. I tell every candidate that I meet with that it's very specifically, this is a two-way street, right? I and our business have to feel really comfortable about someone coming on board and having success right away. And we need to be able to see that that's going to come to fruition, but we also need them to see it for themselves. And if we don't have both of those things, we're not going where we need to go. And it doesn't make sense to move forward. And so I don't know if other people underestimate that or not, but we hire slow. And I get the feedback all the time that we're not moving quick enough. And I don't know, maybe I need to change that, but we're really focused on magnifying what we have. We want to grow it, but we want to maintain this culture that we've got at the same time.
So here's what I think is really cool, Brandon, because I've worked closely with you and your team in the past, and it's really cool to see the evolution over time, right? And I got to see you get promoted to your role and taking the team to a whole new level. So I got to experience that culture firsthand and how invested you are and all the leaders are in like that culture and the team. You don't treat people like it's a one-way street. You for sure treat it like it's a two-way street, which it's amazing to see. And you're in a unique situation where it's like, and you're spot on. When you have a great org that's high performing, like when you're like, let's call it the Kobe Bryant, and you're trying to get better performance, that's hard. That's actually like to get like incrementally better. It's actually so much harder versus if it's the worst team and you just make it a little better and you're like a hero, if you will, right? And you mentioned, hire slow. You didn't say the common thing, which is hire slow, fire fast, which that's totally fine. In terms of hiring slow, have you seen, is there any part of the hiring process or things you've seen been really effective for you to vet out more ideal clients for your team?
Yeah, something that we've done, and I can't take credit for this. Actually, a couple of our sales managers have implemented this, but we get our candidates on a phone block. They are on a phone block connected in through Orem, and they're making prospecting calls in our job shadow. And that's on purpose. That gets them in the seat knowing, hey, we make we make outbound prospecting calls every single
Yes.
day, and it's not going away. Yes, we hired a BDR team and we brought them on. That is going to add fuel to the fire. It's not going to supplant the fact that our team has to originate. We have to go out and find the business we're going to find and we're going to work on. We got to originate every day. And so, yeah, credit to one of our sales managers for saying, "Hey, I want to get people on the phone in the job shadow. I want to see how they do." So
Love that.
that's been really cool. And then, yeah,
Nice.
just going through the motions of saying this is what it really looks like. And then, we always ask candidates, "Hey, tell me about the gaps that you're going to have now that you've seen this job. Like, what are they? Let's work through that. Let's figure out if that's an issue or not." Because again, it's not good for anybody if someone comes on board and it's not the right fit. And realistically, like, it's worse for the team member who came on board than it is for the organization that brought them on, right? We're going to be okay.
You're right.
We can't do that over and over again. We're not going to get where we want to go. But man, it's tough when we collectively made a mistake to bring someone on board.
I love like that's a very collaborative approach, right? Which I think is great. When I think a lot of companies do the opposite, like, hey, we're here, we're going to give you the job so that you treat it as such. But when you're like evening it out, I think it's powerful. And I love the piece of bringing them in for the phone blocks, right? Which is absolutely vital. Now, are they coming in for the whole day or just a phone block session typically?
It's generally a 2 or 3 hour session total, and about a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes of that is getting on the phone.
Yeah. So. Cool. Yeah, I love that. One thing that we did for years, right, is and this may not help you, is we actually have them do a full day.
Oh yeah.
And the reason was this, right? So we typically would do it on a day that we would have a team meeting, right? So usually we use a team meeting on a Monday. So the team meeting, so they can come and see the culture of the team and the vibe, right? Just to feel it out. I would put them on a spot to have them introduce themselves, kind of see how they act on the spot, right? And then they go into the bullpen, if you will. They go through the phone block. They're dialing. They're listening in, so you can kind of see them live and how they're handling that level of pressure and what the job is really like. And then they're actually on appointments after, like literally in the field, right, with reps. So that way they could see a full day what that looks like. So I always made sure whoever they went with had a stacked day, so they could see like, what does that day look like from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then I'll actually huddle with the rep at the end of the day. So then this way I can say, hey, what'd you think? How were they? What questions they ask? And you will learn so much from that field day, as part of it. Now, there's something we had to do to make sure it worked out okay. Like, we had HR on the back end help set it up. So, they filled an I-9 out, they got paid for the day, et cetera, like almost like a temp employee. But they got to see firsthand exactly what it was. So we got to set the right expectation. And we filtered out a lot of candidates because of that, because they were like self-select. They're like, this is too hard. I can't handle this.
This isn't what I thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah. They thought it was easily coasted. And we had a high performance team. I'm like, if you can't run with us, you can't stay with us, right? So that's something that might be useful, right?
No,
so,
I love that. Thank you. Now, I'm going to chew on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Plant that seed, try it out. Highly recommend it. So, in terms of beliefs, right? What's maybe one belief you hold about leading a sales org that you think most probably disagree with?
I love this. I don't know if most people disagree with this or not, but I'm very big on, you got to be in the trenches with your team. I know that you're big on this too, but I think a sales leader, you have to be able to, your team has to have confidence in you. And if that's not there, if you don't have the confidence and you don't have the confidence, it's hard to lead a team. That's what I found. And I want to be in the trenches. I want to be close to the business so that I have that insight, and I want the team to know that I'm not going to ask them to do something that I wouldn't do myself, right? Here at PEC, as we've grown, we've said, hey, what we need to do is we need to divide and conquer. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't want to make 250 phone calls a day. I do, and I would. But we got to divide and conquer to reach our goals. And so how do we set up systems to where people are playing to their strengths and we're enabling our sales team to do as much as possible? Yeah. You got to get in the trenches with them.
I love that so much.
We lead from the front.
Because I think a lot of people, like, they say the words, right, but they don't know what that looks like. So I'll take off your VP hat for a second and go back to when you were the frontline sales leader, right? You managed the direct sales team. What did your typical week look like when you're leading from the front, when you're in the trenches?
Yeah. So most of our sales process happens virtually. Right. The majority of our meetings are virtual. We do go on site, and we do travel to facilities. At some point, we have to do that. But most of our sales process is virtual. And so, for me as a frontline sales manager, when I first took over the team, I went from an individual contributor on that team with them to then managing them. I said, hey, I will join every single call, every single opportunity you have. I will join it. You let me know where you want me to be, when you want me to be, you let me know what role you want me to play. If that's you want me to lead the call soup to nuts, I will do it. But at some point, I'm going to pass that ball back to you, and I'm going to want you to run that call. But hey, if it's this is a new opportunity, I don't know how to navigate it, or this customer's interested in financing, I've never talked through that. Can you handle that? Can you come on and be the finance expert? Or I'm having a hard time running an effective, we call them EAMs, which would be our deep dive or our discovery call. Hey, can you model this for me? I want to can you lead this call? Or you have more experience in this industry. Would you lead this call? Right. So I told my team, hey, I will join every single call. I am here to run this process with you. We're going to get better together. And at some point, after modeling it, after training it, I'm going to give it back to you, and I am going to expect that you're able to do it. But I'm not going to do that until I've given you the tools and I've modeled it for you. And that was awesome. I think that built a lot of trust and rapport with our team, and we did get a lot better. Just from that process, I got a lot better, right? I went from having 8 to 10 meetings myself to having 20 plus meetings every single week. And so the number of repetitions I was getting, it went up dramatically. And so all of a sudden my skills elevated. So that's what I did early on.
What I would love is and hopefully the listeners that are watching this is you're talking about being on 20 plus sales calls, right? Which is that's not an easy feat to do, right? To be, that means you're literally in the trenches, you're on the calls with them, you're able to see where the gaps are, you're able to listen to the market, you're able to help coach and guide them. And that's really, really powerful. And I think a lot of leaders, they forget how important that is, and they become armchair quarterbacks where they kind of sit behind their laptops and they don't join calls, they don't listen in, they don't see the gaps, and they wonder why the team's underperforming. When you see it firsthand, you're like, oh, I see why Marcus is struggling. He's running a terrible discovery call. He just gets on and starts pitching them. That's why it's going nowhere. You could see it live. I think that's really, really powerful. Now, going back to building your scalable org, right? So it's typically when I see you guys are a high performing organization, you're trying to scale to the next level, you're hiring people, you're growing the org. And I usually see there's drop offs in the scaling part. There's either they can't it's they struggle getting the right people up front, or maybe they get people in, but then ramp time is slow, to get performing. It takes forever, or they just don't make it. They're basically their 12-month survival rate's kind of low. They just don't make it all the way through or beyond. So where do you kind of see potentially when you look at your whole org where you're okay, this is where we're kind of struggling right now. We're trying to work to figure out and solve.
Yeah, great question. It's definitely training and ramp up. Without a doubt. I think we've done a pretty good job. We've done a good job identifying excellent people and bringing them on board. We have struggled. I mean, since the dawn of time at PEC, we've struggled to give people the tools and the training and the development and the mentorship that they need to ramp really quickly and make sure that they're pointed in the right direction to build early momentum. That's consistently a challenge. And what we've done recently, we've recently overhauled our sales org, as you know. One of the main things we focused on is putting someone into a role who is a sales trainer, right? He's a sales development manager, and his job is to give mentorship, give coaching, and bring people through that first year, because it's the toughest part, and it's where we fail our team most often, is getting them at what they need to be successful. Because we get these. I mean, even before I was a frontline sales manager, we brought on all these excellent people. All of our top performers today, they all came on when we had essentially no management, no leadership. I shouldn't say that. We had leadership. We had some management. We just did not have enough of it. And so we brought excellent team members on. High performing team members that are crushing it today. And they struggled. And I remember thinking, this is not going to work. These guys are excellent, but we can't get them the success that they need. We need to shake it up. And that was the first time we shook up our sales org. That was the first time as a business we were like, this is not going to work for scale. We got to change it. And that's when we dropped in frontline sales managers like myself, like my colleague Clark, to go and say, okay, these guys are excellent. We got to give them what they need. They need to have success, or none of this is going to work. And so trying to structure that in a scalable way today is still a challenge. And we now have a person focused on that who supports those team members who are also supported by a frontline sales manager at the same time. So today we've doubled down. We said you get 2 sales managers, and one of them's really going to help you through training and development. The other one's going to point you in the right direction, hold you accountable, do performance management and be there to mentor you as well.
I love that, right? This speaks to the culture at your company, right? In which they're investing into real resources, right? To be able to have a structure for success. Because now you can't just have unicorn reps. You need to have like systems. So you put in frontline sales leaders to have better management and accountability. You bring in an enablement trainer, right? To help with some of the onboarding, right? And really the ongoing. And what I'll say is, because the next phase in journey, most people have not realized this, is like the enablement person is great. But what has to be put in place is there has to be a really clear onboarding training plan, like literally day 0, day 90. What's that look like exactly from a developer perspective? Every single day, what does that look like? What are the milestones to get to that next level? And then even beyond that, what's that look like from a weekly perspective from what the frontline sales manager does? But then on top of that, what a lot of people will miss is then you also need a back end program to take those people in and develop them to the next level, which is how we do future leaders. When Brandon gets promoted, when Clark gets promoted, do we have a way to develop that talent to take over as a frontline sales? Because remember, I think you instinctually had some great instincts to kind of stay in the trenches. Some don't have that. Like they become like a super rep and they don't necessarily train the team, right? So it's cool that you're already observing some of these future things you got to work on, right? As you're kind of working through the onboarding, this is a challenge I think many teams run into, right? What are some other things you guys are doing right now to try to improve and I always call speed to first deal, if you will, or speed to result, to increase that ramp time or increase the speed to result for the new hires?
Yeah, we've gotten really intentional about our sales process and our sales playbook. We've really, over the last couple of months, we've formulated a real full 180-page sales process playbook that is meant to be able to provide to someone and say, hey, here's everything condensed down. We're going to work through this. And when we do, we're going to get you to where you need to go faster. So that's certainly been one thing. I think it's not super scalable, but everybody talks about pipeline, like, hey, you got to build pipeline. And of course, of course you have to build pipeline. Can't do anything with it. The pipeline has to be the right stuff or else it's all for naught, And so early success happens from identifying who to meet with and why. As a business, our opportunities is enormous. I mean, it's somewhat endless, right? We have this culture of no territories. We want to give people this unlimited opportunity to go out and create the success that they want to create. The drawback is that you can spin your wheels on just the wrong stuff. And if you do, it puts you behind. We also, at the same time, we have a longer sales cycle. And so if your initial targets, the filtering you did and who you selected to meet with and then ran through the sales process, if they weren't the right businesses, if we couldn't see from the start how we were going to get them to closed won, we spun our wheels for a really long time. And so a lot of it, and again, I preface this by saying it's not that scalable, but really taking the extra time to go, hey, are you calling on the right people? Are the calls to action of how we're going to get them into the pipeline, will those work? And because once we do, if we draw the right businesses into our pipeline based on our specific targets, we have a pretty good probability of running them all the way through the process and having a really strong opportunity to potentially turn those into close one. And man, that momentum, you get a little bit of momentum with a new person and you're like, all right, let's go. That's, it's crucial.
I love that. So in that same vein, right, when someone's maybe not performing at your level, how do you determine if is it like a person issue? Is it a process issue? Is it like a structure issue? How do you determine that?
Yeah, I would say I would default to structure issue most likely. And that's probably because structure and process and have been our growing pains lately. And so that's where my head's been at most recently. I would say typically what we're doing, we have a pretty small sales org. So myself, Clark, our sales director, and then the sales managers, we're in tune with how our team is performing, and we're generally evaluating. It's all a one-by-one scenario, right? If we have some underperformance, typically we can start to pinpoint where it's like, why, right? And I would say a lot of times it's the quality of what went into the pipeline at the very beginning, but sometimes it might be activity, right? Or it might be structure, right? We might not be there supporting that team member when they need it, and we accidentally let them drop the ball when we could have been there when they dropped it to help them pick it back up. So it's a myriad of different reasons, and I'd say as a small, medium-sized business, we've got the luxury to be able to evaluate that holistically and go, okay, what does this person need? They're amazing, but they don't have the results that
Yeah.
we think they should have. What do we got to do? And then we start to really dig in and go, okay, did we give them this? Did we do this? How do they do, what are we doing here? How's this working? Do we have enough accountability? Whatever the case may be.
Well, I think what's cool is as you're working through that process, is it's not a one size fits all. Where I think unfortunately a lot of leaders say, "Oh, you're not performing. Well, you need to make more calls. You need to send more emails." So you're focused on diagnosing, really seeking to understand, like, what's the true root cause? Is it accountability? Do we train it properly? Is it a target? You're looking to solve, like, hey, what's the root cause? So that we can focus on solving that, which I absolutely love. So let's just say, for example, the CEO taps you on the shoulder and says, "Brandon, I want you to double revenue in the next 12 months." Okay. But don't hire any more people. You just hired 5 new BDRs. That's it. No more. You don't have to hire any more. What would you have to change in order to double revenue?
Oh man. Well, wouldn't the answer be that I would have already changed that?
True.
I'm
So
just kidding.
sometimes the question gets you to think differently.
No, of course, of course.
Yeah.
This might sound a little candid. This is
Okay.
what I believe though. Right now, if we just improved our conversion ratio from proposal delivered, and I guess we could take the whole sales process, but even if we just took from proposal delivered to close one, if we can increase that conversion ratio, we have no additional deals we've worked. We have no additional
Right.
conversations. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, but we're not doing more work than we've already done, but we're generating more results. And so the easiest way to go from where we're at today to double is to improve that conversion ratio.
Yeah.
If that was as easy as just waving the magic wand and changing the conversion ratio, we would do it. But that comes back to the work that we've done lately in really documenting and processing out what's our sales process, how does it work, what are we doing, where we've made a lot of changes recently that we think will hopefully reap the benefits of seeing a conversion ratio increase, and that'll get us a long ways. From there, be going back into earlier in the pipeline and really going, hey, did we target the right people when we did our outreach? Once we got them into the pipeline, did we qualify and disqualify them the very best we could? If we can do those two things, and then we can increase our conversion ratio, we could double our number without changing anything.
Well, see, what I love about that is it's actually a very simple answer, right? Depending on how you want to look at it, right? It's obviously not easy, right? But it's actually simple. It's like if we can, and it's just a lot of time people try to drive more pipeline, but it's like that actually increases your cost to acquire a customer. If you increase that conversion, discover the proposal to close, I mean, you lower your cost to acquire a customer actually, and you actually generate more profitability, more revenue as a result. So, which I love that. Now, for you, you've been in the role now for almost a year as a new sales VP, newish sales VP. Was maybe one decision that you made early on? Then now you're like, ooh, that's create some nice unexpected upside for you.
That's a tough one, Marcus. I would say what I'm working on that I think will create some of that upside is really trying to understand where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are, and where the team that I work with, where their strengths are. And I think so far we've done a pretty good job of aligning strengths with the activities that we're doing. We're lucky that we have such great sales leadership. We need to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts and that we are leveraging our strengths to grow into the future. I think we've done some of that so far and it's helped. I think we need to continue down that path. And luckily we have an incredible team of people, and so we're capable. We just got to keep making traction. Yeah.
Well, I like that a lot because this focuses on that level of self-awareness that some people don't focus on, right? And learning to understand your own, where you are and your skills and your strengths, your weaknesses helps you become a better leader across the board, right? Like, it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, it may seem fluffy, but it's so true. Like, we may not realize as leaders we're doing certain things that actually hold our team back. And that's just very, very powerful. What's maybe one very tactical move you borrowed or stole from another company leader that you still use to this day?
Well, Marcus, we got some pretty good training from you. And there's a lot of really strong tactics in the training that we learned from you, and we definitely use quite a bit of it today. I would point to is some of our some of our outbound call scripts. They are
Mm.
modeled. They're modeled in the framework that you outline in six-figure sales and through the sales accelerator process that we went through with you. And we certainly stole a lot
I
of
love
that.
that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Good little shout for me. I love that. Appreciate you, man. So now for you, what advice would you give a new VP that's taking over a team that maybe has inconsistent results? You took over a team, you grew up within the ranks, which is amazing, but maybe it's a new VP taking over a different team that's not their team. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, all I know is what I have from my experience, and so I would say get in the trenches. Connect with those people and really try to figure out what they're where they're where they're running into their challenges, and
Mm,
do it with them. Right? Know the value propositions, understand
mm,
where you're meeting your customers, and really start putting that puzzle piece together to go, hey, if we bring the right targets in, how will they get from where they are today to the ultimate result we want, which is to sell them our solution and create an amazing impact. You're not going to do that from the desktop, right?
yeah.
I think there's data, and analyzing the numbers is going to lead to some really amazing conclusions. And I know, and I'm certain that there's value there. I have not had that experience yet. I'm sure I will into the future, but my experience today is get out there with your team, and lead from the front, and then build the credibility with them, show them that you're capable and competent, and then show them how you would want them to run the process, and then make sure they're doing it.
I love that so much, right? I know you haven't personally have done that, but your instincts are so spot on, right? Because you do the same. So what's really, I think, fascinating is a lot of time when someone takes over a high performing team they're already on, they don't do that. They're like, I think I already know. But, they kind of just make some assumptions and they kind of armchair quarterback. But you're like, I'm gonna get in the trenches, it gives you really, really rich insight. And if it was an underperformed, it's the same thing, where you're getting into the weeds, you're really uncovering and seeing what the challenges are. So like, what are the real gaps? Do we have, maybe is it a product market fit issue? Do we have a messaging issue? Do we have the wrong people? Do we have people in the right roles? Like you're able to really see everything. It's like in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the key habits is seek to understand. And that's really what it extends to. You seek to understand first, and then you can determine, when you have all the facts, what's going to be my focus and priority over the next 3 to 6 months to help have the greatest impact. So incredible interview. You shared a lot of great nuggets here. If people want to learn more about PEC, learn about you, they want to come work for you because you're a tremendous leader, where can they find you and learn more about you and the company?
Yeah, pecnw.com is our website. We've got a lot of awesome stuff there. Shout out to our marketing team who's done an outstanding job with our website. And then LinkedIn, of course. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Not as active as you are, Marcus, but I'm on there. And yeah, on that note, one of the things that will hold us back and has held us back is we need high-performing team members to help us grow. We're going to develop the team that we have. We're going to pour resources into the people who are on our team. We're going to help them grow and have greater and greater success. But to meet our business growth goals, we need to bring people onto our team that want to do that with us as well. So if you're a salesperson out there and you're looking to potentially find a new opportunity, I'd love to chat with you.
Beautiful. That's a wrap on this episode of the Revenue Vault. Now, if you got value, here's your next step. Go to bentleyconsulting.com/team to get a free performance scan of your sales org. We'll help you with the diagnosing so you can figure out exactly where deals are stalling and how to actually fix it. Now, this episode gave you even one insight worth sharing. Send to a sales leader you respect. Hey, I'm Marcus Shen. Thanks for joining us in the Vault.